It's Gareth from On Guitars here. We're working on a new experimental guitar. Unlike the original On Guitar, this will be a 6-string fretted standard electric guitar. Rather than chop up a perfectly good electric guitar, we thought we'd buy one of these cheap kits, do a lot of experimentation on it and see what we can come up with. So bought this kit here in the UK from kitbuildguitars.co.uk. It cost about £75, including postage, which is ridiculously cheap. Arrived within 2 days of being ordered, so it's terrific service as well. And I'm just about to unbox it so we can see what it's got inside. Well, here it is with the lid open. We've got a piece of paper with the wiring on it, although it's pre-wired, so I'm not quite sure where they've done that. Maybe I'll find out later on. The body of the guitar, let's just unpack it, see what we've got. Find our way in. It's quite well packaged actually, the whole thing. So this is basswood, which is very cheap, but the guitar was very cheap, so yeah, it's kind of what I'd expect really. Let's have a look at the body itself. It's quite nicely routed out, a little rough here and there. This has been done with a CNC machine, and that's just been done with a normal drill. That's fine, you won't see it. Let's have a look at it. Looks pretty good actually. Yeah, that's pretty much flawless. That's a good start. Yeah, that's fine. The neck pocket is marked. I'm expecting an equivalent mark on the neck itself, which would mean that they're designed to go together, because we do need a tight fit. Let's have a look. So the one I've got has got a sort of dark fretboard on it. It's probably not going to be rosewood. It's if it's wood at all actually. I wanted a maple one, but they didn't have one in stock. So the headstock is just a paddle, which means I can come up with some cool original shape. The wood is interesting looking. It's actually, the neck itself is maple. And yeah, we've got, I'm not sure what that mark is, I'm guessing it's Chinese or something. It's kind of slim neck actually, feels okay considering it's unfinished. The nut is just a plastic nut, and I will probably change that, I should think. There is a truss rod in there, which I'll be checking out in a little while. Have a look at the frets. I'll leave gaps underneath the frets. There are some. Yeah, they need tapping in, but that's okay. They've been a little excessive when finishing off the frets on the side, but that's okay. It'll be, you know, bear in mind this thing is £75, which is virtually nothing really. What I'd like to do is see how well the neck fits onto the body, because it needs to be snug. If it's not snug, we've got problems with sustain. Okay, so it's a bit loose actually. I think that needs to be filled with maybe a slither of wood or something. The joint isn't perfect. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll do a close-up of that later. There's a little bit of a gap there, not massive, but this joint is critical really to the sustain properties of the instrument. But it's not terrible. It's a little bit, there's a lot of play on the side there, so I'll have to be sure when I bolt it in that we've got a line down the middle of this, otherwise it will be truly unplayable. So we'll see. As we go along, that'll become obvious whether it's usable or not. So electrics, these tiny little pots with bog standard capacitors in. So I'm cool with that. That looks like it'll work. I'll put a meter on these pickups later on to find out what the impedance is. It's a little rough here. I'm just going to have a look at this to see whether the roughness is actually that's okay. The roughness is actually just on the protective film on this, so it'll be fine. Okay, the switch is a bit bent actually. There, I'll have to bend that back into shape. That's not great. We'll find out how well it makes contact further down the line. So that's going to pop into there. It's quite nice actually, the white scratch plate against the very light coloured wood. As I said, I wanted this to be maple on the front so we get that whole sort of blonde effect, but it wasn't to be this time. Right, so let's see what the accessories look like. We've got a bag here with them all in. Standard scratch plate. That hasn't got a plastic protective covering on it. It's a little bit, I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit messy on the inside. I think I'll probably sort something out about that. Looks kind of second hand actually, that one. Okay, that's nice. The plate for the bolt-on neck is nice with a little sort of plastic plate as well to go on the inside. It's a little bit, the jack socket's a little bit thin, and again that's been bent in. That needs to come out a little bit. That's not been looked after, but it's relatively easy to fix. Bear in mind how much this thing cost. It's insane. And I'll have a look at the machine heads. That's kind of important. There's quite a... I was going to say there's quite a bit of play on it, and there is back and forth, but this seems fairly positive. I think when we get some strings on it, we'll find out how good these are. You can hear them rattling a little bit, but when that's in place, that'll be held tight. It'll be held quite tightly. The trem system with the ridge. A little protective card under there. It's thin, but it's okay. I've heard of these things being quite light. That's kind of the, you know, the standard system here for the tremolo arm with the screw-in trem. That seems okay. It's fine. I mean, you could actually change any of these parts if you weren't happy with the quality of them. You could just change them and right, that's very basic jack lead. I would certainly not be using that because it's quite critical on these magnetic pickups. You have a decent lead or you'll get capacitance. Okay, that fits in there fine. Yeah, that's okay. Guessing the springs are around here somehow. Yeah, I can see them. They've even supplied strings. So these very thin strings, but okay, well, I'll put a gift horse in the mouth. That'll be all right, and a packet with presumably all the screws and bits and pieces that we need to put this guitar together. It looks like you could do it within a couple of minutes. So what I think I'm going to do is have a closer look at the neck, because I can see the frets need tapping in, and that's okay. That's not difficult to do. But I want to find out whether the fretboard itself is flat or whether the truss rod needs adjusting. So here we are, we have the neck, and this tool will tell us whether the neck is straight or not. So I can rock it ever so slightly. I'm not sure you can see that here, but I can rock the neck ever so slightly, but there's not much in it, I've got to say. It's pretty good. Not what I expected. I thought this would take a lot of adjustment, but it's very close actually. That's good. Minimal adjustment necessary there. Okay, so the fingerboard itself is not too bad. As I mentioned earlier on though, the frets they're not seated perfectly. They just need tapping in a little bit. So you'd expect with this fret leveling file for it to be rocking this way, which it is a little bit. It's not terrible though. A bit worse up here actually, but that's by the time I've adjusted the truss rod to make the fingerboard itself perfect and tap these in, I don't think we'll be far from true on this. So that's a good start.